Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It's February the 22nd of 2023. I am Nick, joined by Quinn on this Manga Talkie Day. And that's what we're going to do. It's a Manga Talkie Day.
We're going to talk about manga, amongst other things. Primarily, I suppose, manga, but other things I'm sure will come up.
That is generally what happens on the show. So.
I guess I have a tangent. And then
there we go.
I should, it starts off quickly. I should also note I am recording this while under fever with a bit of a headache. So if I feel a little bit out of it or whatever, that is why. If you're curious why you cannot see my face, you just see Quaxley. If you're looking at the video version of this podcast, just know I have not had time to do anything today. So I am ashamed to show my face in public. But this past weekend, I went to MagicCon Philly.
That explains it. Okay.
Yeah. I really was only there for a little bit and everyone was masked, but I mean, I don't know. I also rode a train back and no one was masked there, so that could have been what ultimately caused it. I don't know. But it was MagicCon Philly, so if you don't know, it's like Magic the Gathering has various different conventions across, the area. It could just be Con Crud too in general. I'm so off topic. I'm sorry. It's a Magic convention, and I don't want to like stereotype Magic players, but there is like a particular kind of Magic player. Yeah. As these are all grown adults who love wizards and casting spells. They're a good bunch. But the convention center was holding two events, one of which was MagicCon. The other was like a cheerleading competition for like 11-year-old girls. And it was hysterical to me to watch these two groups have to interact, because it was mostly a one-sided interaction where a bunch of cheerleaders would see like someone walk by in wizard robes with like a battle mat in their pocket, and then they would start giggling. And I can only imagine how many like adults had their feelings destroyed. They're like, oh God, I have to listen to like teenage or like preteen girls laugh at my hobbies all over again. Like, why?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, get over it.
Yeah, I mean, I found it more charming than anything else. I'm not here to be
That's fine. That's a great attitude to take. I do hope that no one was like actually really upset by it, but I mean, like, if you don't want to be judged for wearing that kind of thing, that like, you've got to be aware that like if you get to the convention center, you have to go through the rest of the hotel in order to get there. So you have to plan your routes accordingly. I do imagine that there must have been some people who got there and were like, "Oh my God, this entire zone, like it's like just a giant red zone now. It's impossible. I have to like now I've got to bribe the staff to let me through like the back hallways."
I mean, there's like one gigantic room. I would basically say it was like 2 football fields long combined. That was just people playing Magic. Like, and that was just one room of this convention. There's a lot of people playing Magic.
Well, it's a Philly con, so that's going to be a big place. Yeah.
I had a thought. It's gone now. Anyway.
All right.
It was fun times. I lost every single match I played. I got crushed. I did not represent Harrisburg whatsoever or Weekly Manga Recap. I'm sorry, Nick, I failed you.
That's okay. I feel like if you had come back and told me about all the great Magic games you won, I would have been like, oh, you mean like that from that one terrible manga we read last year? I'm just kidding. I used to play Magic too. I know a number of the rules.
Yeah, we were all doing The Gathering on Xbox 360, I believe.
No, I was not.
Oh.
No, because I don't do community video games very much. So.
Aww. I thought you were there. That's a shame.
Nope.
I wish you were there. How can I add that?
That would have been nice. It would have been nice to get into a card collecting thing with you guys. But instead, I was off my own corner playing Yu-Gi-Oh. So
Yeah, good stuff. I think the part that enchants me the most, it's less the people, and it was more all of like the life-size standees of like cat wizards that all the cheerleaders had to walk by. Like, what is this convention?
I wonder if like that's gonna be a weird thing. It'd be weirder if they were more familiar with it. I think, you know, like it. If it were something like that, they're like, oh my god, these guys are like really into like Pokemon. What the hell? Don't they have jobs? Don't they have lives? You're not supposed to be into things when you hit 20.
Yeah, ew, adults, gross.
Having interests. Speaking of youth culture, Quinn,
The kids today.
that brings us to our first chapter of this week, which is My Hero Academia, chapter number 380, A Skosh asterisk. So, My Hero's been off for a few weeks, as Horikoshi has not been doing too well, but it seems like he's back. So there's a new chapter this week, kind of picking up where we left off with the tide turning, as all the people that Deku influenced to become better stepped in to help out in their darkest hour, including Labrava, Gentle using his elasticity powers to hold up the collapsing base, and Lady Nagant shooting guns, blowing off Shigaraki hands. So Gentle is still at work trying to prevent everything from literally falling to the earth. And he reflects in this moment that, like, oh man, I'm at the limits of my power, even with Labrava's ability helping me out. And he happens to spot Deku, you know, going off to fight Shigaraki outside off of the base, and he thinks to himself, like, you know, this is you know very different. You know, I'm participating here, and I'm all by myself. There's no audience. There's no camera. I'm not going to get any cheers or jeers for what I'm doing today. And then he spots the camera guys from the business course filming him, and immediately he's like, "Oh my god, an audience!" But he does the good guy thing and says, "Hey, don't bother filming this. You got to rush to safety." And they say, "We're the business course, and we do film it stuff, and that helps heroes." And it's like, yes, I mean, it's public relations stuff. It's important. We've talked about this, but they have their big, they give a big spiel about how everyone is been falling apart, and they say like they weren't able to help when Dabi blew up everything by turning people against heroes, and now they're trying to do their part to turn the tide and reforge the link between heroes and the public. So that's nice. Also, then Labrava hacks their phones to make sure that everything gets immediately streamed to everyone. And there's a really cool shot of her as she's like, "Oh man, imagine Gentle having to do all this and having nobody see him. I'm not gonna let that happen." And the shot of her is, just full on "I'm in love with Gentle" face, but it's looking at her through the monitor of the computer that she's working at. It's a neat shot.
Yeah, where the camera?
And very briefly, we stopped by a bunch of the murderous twice togas who are wanting to kill all the heroes. Kurogiri is having a bit of a time. So when the twices go to overwhelm Aizawa and kill him, suddenly, as he and President Mike had sent over the edge of the platform are going to fall to their deaths, they fall through a portal that Kurogiri conjures. And so everyone's like, what the hell? What did he save them? And Mandalay concludes, well, maybe he was just completely removing erasure from the battlefields, because that actually would help Shigaraki. So, nebulousness. Was Kurogiri protecting his old friends, or was he following his programming to protect Shigaraki? Oh, good. It's time for All for One to talk. So,
Everyone's favorite part of the chapter.
Deku is squaring off with Shigaraki. All for One starts talking about how, I was going to meld minds with Tamura Shigaraki, but his impulse for destruction eclipsed all my hopes, and I've kind of lost control of him. But I've got to complete the Demon Lord, and because this body that I'm in, its role is done, so I've got to meld with him. So Hawks flies over to try and stop him because he's flying away from their battlefield. Slashes at him with his blade feathers for a second, but All for One just smirks and says, "The wind seems to blow my way," and just casts his palms directly at Hawks's stomach, and he falls apart, just ripped apart by some sort of vortex. And Tokoyami from a distance watches his mentor be killed.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's not
chapter end. Wow, what a week of My Hero, Nick.
So
weird title though.
Did you actually for a moment think, oh, Hawks is dead when this happened?
No, because it took me a moment to read the manga this week, and I got spoiled on the Tokoyami. I got spoiled on the Tokoyami reaction face, and I was like, that face feels like it'd be out of. That feels like it would be out of place in a chapter where Hawks dies. I haven't seen that face yet, so it would be crazy if he's like, my mentor.
Hawks is not dead. The illusion of Hawks is dead, and as it goes, it turns into a shoujo drawing of Hawks with big beachy eyes and roses everywhere. And then Tokoyami reacts to that like, what the fuck just happened? Because he doesn't know what's happened. It's Kami! Everyone wanted Kami to show up.
I'm sure there's a certain horny section of the fan base that's very glad she's back.
You know, the Shiketsu girl with the illusion power, she's summoned an illusion of Hawks, and that's what got destroyed. So Kami shows up. She's riding on a flying finger because Squinty Eyes Shiketsu guy is there as well. As is Yoarashi, who is summoning tornadoes and stuff. And Yoarashi gets the last line of the chapter, which is, "Listen up, pal, I am the guy who decides which way the wind blows." So, skipping over a little bit of the point that we'll circle back around to in just a moment. That's the big thing is, oh, the Shiketsu High kids are here, and they're here to help out. Which is a little bit of a law of diminishing returns, I feel like, if you keep... We've had several chapters in a row now of like, oh my god, a person we weren't expecting to show up and help has showed up to help. And it's like, okay. But, you know, the 3 in a row that you had, it's like, okay, these are now quasi-reformed villains that, you know, had a personal connection to Deku in some form or another. And then it's these guys that Deku has had no attachment to whatsoever.
I was gonna say, I think Bakugo ended up with more of a connection to these guys, didn't he? Or no?
Because he took the makeup course with these two. Yes, yeah. Yes. So he definitely has more of a connection than Deku does. So that's in general how I feel about that. However, I do think that this fake out and the shocked reaction that Tokoyami has, well worth it. I'll take that. I guess we should talk a little bit about
the whiny babies.
Yeah, so okay, look, I don't like circling around to this point every time that it comes up, but this is in relation to a manga that we regularly talk about. And specifically in regards to the translation we talk about. There was a post that got a bit of attention in certain manga discussion circles on social media this week when this chapter dropped, comparing what Kami says in the official English version versus a fan-translated version. The big dispute is over the way that Kami's lines are translated because she has a lot of Gyaru slang as part of her character. She's kind of this like kind of ditzy, fashionable character, and so you get bombarded with a bunch of slang in her like 2 sentences of dialogue, and there's a bunch of like translator notes. They're like margin notes that translate her slang. So she says the child of the chapter, a skosh, is because she says, if I'd been here a skosh later and something bad would have happened. A skosh is an old piece of slang that means a little bit. It actually comes from like a Japanese word, sakoshi, which means a little bit. So interesting. But she also refers to Hawks as a certified hottie that she's simping for. So this got translated in a fan translation without these footnotes, as if like, oh, why did the official translator have to put footnotes down? Well, if you look at the original Japanese, she was speaking in slang, and there were notes from the author about what the slang meant, which concludes with, I honestly don't know what this one means. It's a joke because, the Gen Xer doesn't understand how the kids talk these days. Isn't that kind of funny? It's like, oh, this is beyond me. Hey, little joke. So that got removed in the fan translation, which makes it better. It's look.
But Nick, they called Hawks a twink.
I'm not going to get into all of that stuff. There's been enough said about that. My main hangup was that yes, the fan translation refers to Hawks as a twink, a S-class twink, no less. Which leads me to ask, why? Because as far as I was concerned, I didn't consider Hawks to be a twink, period. I put up a poll on Twitter asking, is Hawks an S-class twink? Most people said no. They preferred the option of certified hottie. But 40% said he's an S-class twink. So that is definitely not an insignificant portion of people. So, okay, I guess that it's tolerable, though I will definitely still say that if a 16-year-old girl is going to express that she finds a dude physically attractive, she's probably not going to call him a twink. Probably. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on the twink versus not twink debate, which is a thing I have to say now. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much to say on that. I think my offer was he's absolutely a scruffy hottie, which seems more in line with certified hottie than S-class twink. But what do I know? I will simply say that I really like. I just prefer this version of the translation. It feels more like if you're trying to capture that idea of what like a Gen Z kid, quote unquote, would be saying. It just feels a little bit closer. It also does feel like an adult who has learned the slang writing a Gen Z kid.
yes.
But that's inevitable. That is the situation here. Like, it is very difficult to often write youthful characters without it sounding forced.
Yeah, the longer that you're creating work about teenagers by virtue of the fact that you're getting older while writing it, the more distance there is between you and the group that you're trying to represent. Like, that just happens naturally.
That is also like the larger question here of like fan scanlations versus official translations. I don't really have the brain power to like get into it. I'll simply just say, as for the chapter itself, I was pretty meh on it. You kind of hit one of my problems, which it feels like you were like, "Hey guys, Edge is back in the Royal Rumble," and then like 6 spots later, you're like, "And the Hurricane." You're like, should have started with Hurricane. You shouldn't have. You shouldn't have started with Edge. You definitely should have led up to Edge if you were going to do it. And I just don't care whatsoever about these 3 characters. I never cared about them when they were kind of being presented as like not a rival faction. I never really knew what they were presenting them for. Just like, here are other characters from another school.
Yeah. I mean, once Yorashi and Todoroki kind of buried the hatchet, it's like, all right, that storyline's done.
So cool. All my friends are here, but I'm not I didn't have particularly too many strong thoughts on this chapter.
By the way, those of you who insist that Hawks definitely is a twink are clearly shipping him with Endeavor, who is like twice his age, and I just want you to be aware of that. Okay, so
Oh no. Nick, we're going to talk about Undead Unluck. It helps if I had have my hand on the right keys. I was just trying to hit enter, and I was like, why is my page not going up? This is 147 run-in, and we get a cover page of Fuko and all of her friends, but they're bread.
Yes, they are.
They're little bread bears.
They're bread bears, yes.
That's a very cute thing. Terrifying, but cute. Hey, Nick.
I really like the Tatiana one because she's inside of a bigger piece of bread.
Yeah. Guess what, Nick? We're in the war. Like we added our friends. We're in the war now. We got to deal with that. And this chapter really is about Tella.
It is.
We get some knowledge on Billy and a little bit of Creed, but this is really a chapter about Tella, who was sort of the one member of this group we knew nothing about. Essentially, he and Billy are mercenaries in this war who know there is a super weapon in this battlefield, and they want to collect it. Essentially, so that no one else can have it. They're being hired to obtain it, but they're planning to just take it for themselves to not use it. And you know, Billy is very sort of casual about the fact he's like, yeah, we're just gonna keep the Duke for ourselves and never use it. And Tella's like, oh wow, I'm so inspired by you. You're so cool. And Billy's like, yep, perhaps you know one day there'll be one less war in the world because of all of our efforts. And I apologize, I'm not gonna get into so many of the specifics. Simply just due to my brain feeling like it's exploding.
There is quite a bit of war is hell that happens in the first half of this chapter. Yeah. Is essentially what happens. Yeah. Meanwhile, while war is hell, Tella's doing his best to help out the soldiers that are stuck in it. So.
Yeah, they're a group called Horizon Balance, which is a little amusing that eventually.
Absolutely.
What's his name goes on to get Unbalance. But Tella is like using a very beautiful singing voice to entertain his fellow compatriots who have been injured, and they're like, hey, like, you should get out of here, dude. Like, we're injured. Doesn't make any sense to protect us. We're just gonna act as decoys. Like, you should get out of here. And Tella's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. We only truly attain victory if we all return home. It doesn't matter if it's soft. We have to do this. And then they have like a little creed that we are Horizon Balance. Our bodies differ, but our souls are one. One may die, but the soul will not. The soul that remains will take over for the fallen and continue to live on until the day the world is fair and balanced. So that kind of goes to explain why Billy's the way he is. That's why his philosophy is the way he is. So Tella's like, hey, I'm gonna go handle this communication thing that's a little bit away from our camp. I'm not gonna let anyone get hurt. He sees tanks rolling in towards his camp though, and he's like, I have to warn them. But Nick, what should happen is Negator ability activates Untell, and he is physically unable to communicate. Not only can he not shout into a radio to warn his compatriots, he cannot use a Morse code either. His finger just refuses to let him tell anything. And he can't even run to the scene. He tries to go run to people, but he can't. And he's like, oh no, everyone's going to die. Someone please save us.
I do really like that, you know, he's a very capable guy at his job. So he's like, okay, my voice isn't coming out, so I'm just going to use Morse code. He immediately goes to the next option, and it's just any type of communication that involves his own body is the specific wording he can't do, which presumably is how he's able to communicate with that weird device thing that was kind of hooked up to him. I don't know exactly how that, was overcome.
Like if it's just picking up neural signatures or something.
But I do appreciate that, like, you know, it's not a matter of like, oh, why does he just circumvent? It's like, no, literally any type of communication that involves any type of physical action he can't do.
Yeah. So his tank rolls up. Who is inside it but Creed? He's like, all right, time to fire. Fires off this big shell, hits the camp. Direct explosion, smoke's there. They're like, yeah, this is definitely it. And Creed gives like a big announcement to his group that's like, look, this is how you win a war. You just got to do this. But then a report comes in. It's like, Captain Creed, the camp is unscathed. And they're like, hey, wait, my treads won't move. Not on mine. What's going on? And we cut over and we see what happened. It is Fuko, Gina, and Void. We're standing there in fatigues. They all got fun little outfits. And Creed is just like, what the heck's going on? And Fuko's like, Gina, Mr. Void, you're on backup. I'm going to keep the heat. And she has a fucking sniper rifle, which is pretty
It's
cool.
fucking great. It's a really cool image to end on, you know, with Gina with her arm outcast and Fuko with her fucking sniper rifle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like it feel we knew that there was going to have to be like a deliberate a version of a tragedy in this, but in the very short time that we have, like, you do really feel Tella's despair over like knowing that something horrible is going to, you know, hurt his companions, kill them, and he can't do anything about it. So then when the good guys show up, it's a big like, oh yay, everything's gonna be okay because our heroes are here.
Yeah,
So,
and it looks like you can see Nico and a Chico in the background helping soldiers. At least I believe that's them.
Of course, I did kind of suspect that between the three people that some of them would not be on the same side, but it's going to be interesting to see how that's overcome if they're going to recruit all three of them.
Yeah, Creed is a good guy, Nick.
Yeah, he was always a good guy who had no problem with shooting many bullets at children.
He was good in art. It's an okay chapter. I like the cute little outfits at the end. That's probably weirdly my favorite part of the chapter.
Understandable. There's not a lot of happiness to be found in this otherwise.
But I do like Tella's backstory. It's very good.
All right, well, Quinn, if that
I'm trying to sigh off camera, but I closed the chapter and realized what the next one is, and I can't hide that displeasure.
Quinn, if you were thinking that there wasn't enough happy times to be found in Undead Unluck, maybe Boruto will help you.
Oh my god.
Chapter number 78, Super Idiot! Featuring Naruto in blue. Dabba-dee-dabba-die. He's not in this chapter.
Blue Roto? Narbluto.
Nabluto. Yeah.
Nabluto, yeah.
So the scouting troop realizes that Naruto and Hinata's chakra signatures have disappeared. So they finally are good for something. They're like, well, something happened to them. They just disappeared. And Shikamaru's getting this report, is way too calm about it, to be honest. He's like, what? They disappeared? What do you mean? What happened? Could it have been code? And they're like, I don't know. But we did detect Kawaki's chakra a second ago. Himawari shows up at home. She sees, oh my gasp, the picture fell over, and she immediately knows something's wrong for her mom and dad. Shikamaru tells Boruto that his mom and dad have gone missing, and he's also very calm about this. He's just like, why would Kawaki do that? And Shikamaru's like, I don't know. Ada, can you see anything? And Ada says, yeah, it was definitely Kawaki. I don't know what he did, but the Hokage and his wife were swallowed up by a dark vortex-like thing. And then Kawaki disappeared. Well, where is he now? And Ada says, I have no idea, since he's not physically visible, so I can't track him with my Senrigan. Which is said in such a tiny panel, just like this reveal that, oh, there is a weakness of the Senrigan. She can't see literally everything, I guess.
That would be absurd, Nick. Why would you give a character an ability that powerful? You couldn't do that. You'd have to like nerf it or something.
Yeah, and like do it in a very abrupt manner. So Boruto rushes off to try and do something. Ada uses her Senrigan to kind of rewind the tape and watch the conversation between Kawaki and Naruto and Hinata. She says, yeah, it seems like Kawaki's planning to kill Boruto again. And Sarada is right there, and she says, kill Boruto again? What do you mean again? No one told her. No one told her that Kawaki killed Boruto. So she's like, "What the hell? I thought you said that Code killed Boruto." And Shikamaru's like, "Well, Kawaki dealt the blow. Boruto asked him to, so because it was Momoshiki threatened. That's probably why Kawaki's doing the same thing." So Sarada just starts to leave too, and Sumire says to her, "It's too dangerous, Sarada." And Shikamaru's like, "Yeah, Sarada, stop. It's too dangerous. Kawaki must be unstable right now, so you can't just talk him out of it. Leave him to us." And Sarada stops for a second, and she says, "I only found out Boruto died after he'd already been resurrected. I had never had any idea that he had ever been in danger, and now that I do know, I can't just stand around and do nothing." She pauses to give the big dramatic speech.
It sounds like Sarada's going to have like a cool hero moment.
Oh, man. So then she rushes off. So then Boruto's running around. Kawaki attacks him with the same vortex thing, but Boruto is able to use the karma to just dissipate the ability, so he's fine. And so Boruto's like, "What did you do to my mom and dad?" And Kawaki pops this weird black cube out, and he's like, "Oh, I use Daikokuten. It's an ability that allows access to a dimension where time is frozen. So your parents will be fine. They won't need to eat. They won't even age, but you'll never see either of them again." Drops boxes on Boruto, and Boruto has to dodge boxes. So Boruto's like, "Why are you doing this?" And Kawaki says, "Because you're an Otsutsuki, and I've got to kill you." So he attacks him with his giant claw thingy. Boruto fights back with the karma a bit, and it's like, "I guess we can't talk now." Meanwhile, abruptly cut to Amato and Sai talking in a way that is very important and essential. Amato asks what's going on. Sai says, "Be quiet." Amato says, "I heard that Kawaki attacked the Hokage. What's going on?" If Kawaki's not cooperating and the ability makes it difficult to hold him, and Sai says, "We might have to take extreme measures." Cool. This conversation was pointless. Bye. Kawaki and Boruto fight more. They fight more. They fight more. But then, oh man, a fireball from off panel, and it's going to hit Kawaki, so he's distracted and has to absorb it with the karma. Sarada is here in order to make a difference, and Kawaki says, "If you don't want to die, don't butt in." And Boruto's like, "Run, Sarada, he'll kill you." And Sarada grimaces, and she hops down, and she's crouching next to her teammate. She's going to help Boruto fight Kawaki. And she says, "That means I've got to stay, because I'm aiming to be Hokage." Yeah, she knows where she needs to be. She knows what needs to be done. And Kawaki says, "You shinobi really are destined to die early." Ha! My arm is a blade. Swipe. And Sarada stands there.
She has the Sharingan. I just want to point that out.
She has the Sharingan.
She has the Sharingan. We know she has it. She could have activated it any time.
So Kawaki slashes Sarada, is going to take her head off, and Boruto literally has to tackle her to the ground to save her life because she is not an important character. That's what the manga's telling us, Quinn. She's not an important character. She literally shouldn't have shown up. What's the purpose of her showing up? So that Boruto had to put himself in harm's way to protect her. And look, Boruto's eye has been slashed now. That's how he gets the eye scar thing that we saw in chapter 1.
This is wild. Now all the pieces are adding up. I can't wait to find out where Kawaki gets his stupid scarf, and then all the pieces will finally be in place.
My God, Boruto, his eye is injured. And Sarada, of course, is looking up at his face as they part, and she's like, "Oh my God, Boruto, your eye." And Boruto says, "I'm fine, just run." Okay? Kawaki, who was like, "I have to kill the Otsutsuki," does nothing to take advantage of this opening. He's just standing over them, looking down at them, and he's like, "Get out of the way, Sarada, or are you still feeling the need to interfere?" And then an arm reaches out. Oh my God, Mitsuki stopped Kawaki. Mitsuki did something. I can't believe this. Stops Kawaki from doing anything, and oh my God, Shikamaru's here and uses his shadow paralysis thing to stop him. Also, Konohamaru's here. He does nothing. I don't think he says anything. So, oh, he says, "You okay, Boruto?" My mistake. Sasuke's also here. He holds his sword up to Kawaki's throat and is like, look, I'm going to kill you if you resist. Don't do anything. So Shikamaru demands to know what's happened to Naruto and Hinata. And Kawaki's like, I'm doing this because I have to. Boruto is kind of, messed up a bit. So he pulls his hand away from his injured eye. And oh man, it's got Otsutsuki eye now. So he reaches out with his karma thing and absorbs the shadow paralysis jutsu so that it's no longer holding Kawaki down. And so Kawaki's like, oh, an opening. And shrinks out of Mitsuki's arm and darts away to safety. And Boruto tells him, you can't afford to get taken down here if you want to kill me. And Kawaki's like, why are you planning to help me? And Boruto Momoshiki says, you're surrounded, so leave. So Kawaki bamps and shrinks and leaves. And everyone's like, man, he got away. So Sasuke asks the very obvious question, which really should have an obvious answer to, because he looks at Momoshiki Boruto and says, what's he trying to do? Why save Kawaki, who wants to kill him? Gee! I don't know. Maybe because he's got a karma and they need that for their ultimate plan. Like, come on. So the Momoshiki thing fades from Boruto's eye. He stumbles over. Sarada immediately is like, I'm sorry, Boruto. Because of me, you're injured. And Boruto says, it's not your fault, Sarada. It was that blockhead super idiot.
Oh, that's where the chapter title comes from.
Mitsuki has an unconvinced look on his face, and goes, yep, that's right. And then there's an internal conversation between Momoshiki and Boruto, where Momoshiki's like, you've lost an eye now, boy, but now you're going to lose everything in short order. The end has already begun. Ooh!
God, I hope it's the end
this
of this
chapter
fucking manga.
This chapter's dumb. It's bad.
This is a dog shit chapter. I've seen people in the chat say this is a good chapter in comparison to
No!
This chapter's dog shit. It has the energy of like a D&D game. Where one of the players just decides to go evil and start killing everybody, and everyone else has to like kind of act out a character and just do stupid shit. Like, it's just a mess dramatically and has no satisfaction to it in any way, shape, or form. There is no like dramatic satisfaction out of anything that happens in this exchange. Sarada looks fucking stupid. All these characters just like kind of spontaneously show up at the scene, which is cool, but none of them do anything impressive. Like, he just shrinks and gets away. It's just
all bad. all the people that could have done anything. Like, Sasuke has a sword at Kawaki's throat. And he does nothing when the shadow jutsu goes away from him. When he said, if you don't cooperate, I will kill you right here. He does nothing. How many abilities does Sasuke have? He could have used so many of them to stop him. He could have put him under a genjutsu while they had him paralyzed. And then they would have just like 100% locked him down. But no, everyone's got to be stupid in order to allow Kawaki to be a bad guy for now. Yeah. You completely nailed it with the D&D comparison. I had the exact same vibe off of this. An RPG where we've got a plot going, and one guy is impatient, so they decide to just completely do their own thing, and everyone's just got to react to it. It's so annoying. Sarada looks worse than useless in this chapter. She has a moment where it looks like she's going to finally do something, because she's like, I can't just sit idly by. My friend is in danger, and I have to help him because that is what a good ninja does. And then because she shows up, she has to be protected and makes everything worse. It sucks. Okay, done.
Yeah, not great. Let's move on. I need anything to wash the taste of it out of my mouth.
Well, Chainsaw Man is usually good for that, I think. Chapter 121, The Theory of Happiness. Last time, after Asa had, quote-unquote, been dumped by Denji, Yoshida showed up and was like, hey, you want to spend some time with me? So they go to the Devil Hunter Club Student Council office. So I was under the impression that the president of the Devil Hunter Club was just, like, members of both, but I guess they're just the same thing. So that makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah.
So the two of them are hanging out by themselves in this club slash student council office. And Yoshida gives Asa some coffee, and she's like, "Are you sure we can drink this? Because doesn't this belong to the Devil Hunter Club?" And Yoshida points out that she's technically a member, so yeah, she can hang out here. So, Asa looks at Yoshida, and she's thinking about him a little bit, about how, like, hey, so he rejected me when Yoru decided to ask him out. He hangs out with Denji a lot. He's also supposedly a public safety devil hunter despite being in high school. Why is he spending his time on a loner like me? Could it be he started noticing me after I asked him out? Oh, this poor girl. So Yoshida asks her what she was, talking to herself about in the previous chapter. She says, "Oh, that life is easier if you're just on your own." Poor girl.
Aww.
And Yoshida says, I mean, I don't know why you would talk about that out loud, but I kind of agree with you more or less because, like if it's probably easier to get by if you live with another person, but there's no guarantee that you can permanently build a mutually agreeable relationship. And these days with books and TV, you can have one-sided parasocial relationships. So the solitary life is less easy. And Asa just thinks to herself, he's affirming my values. He does like me. Oh, this poor girl. She just needs a friend. A friend who won't die.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. You live in a Fujimoto story.
Yeah. So Yoshida's like, I'm glad we're on the same page. There's something I've wanted to tell you for a while now. The thing is, and oh my god, Asa, and you can see Asa starting to blush because she thinks that he's going to confess to her. And then he says, I want you to stay away from Denji, which, of course, shocks and befuddles her. And she asks, why? And he says, I'd rather not say. Interpret it however you like. Thanks for the chat. Have a good one. Bye. Just gone. Just gone. No softening the blow in any way, shape, or form. He just leaves her with that.
I love that. Like, I'm glad we had this chat. Bye.
Yep. Like they just had a nice conversation.
What the fuck?
Also, he put out coffee for both of them, and they did not even bother to stop and have his coffee.
It really feels like
job done.
It really feels like he knew it when he was making it too. He was just like, I'm not staying around for this coffee, but I'm going to lead her on to believe that I am. What a shit.
So Naomi is hanging out with Denji at their apartment, and is resting her head on, I guess, his butt, and says, I smell something nasty. Makes sense. But she says, it's the nastiest devil scent that I've ever smelled. Go God Chainsaw Man! It's devil hunting time! So she has two catchphrases for Denji. So she is a little kid. That's great. But Denji is super depressed because, he was just told to reject a girl by her. And he says, I don't feel like being Chainsaw Man, even if everybody finds out I'm Chainsaw Man, even if the ladies want me. You're just going to block me anyway. I congratulate him on not saying cock block in front of a child.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, I want to watch you fight, though. So Denji says, well, am I just going to be single and alone my whole life, though? So she points out to him, I mean, if you turn it into Chainsaw Man, lots of people will like you. And you could get way more love that way than you would with the girlfriend. So doesn't that sound super awesome? And Denji says, hang on, let me think it over. Does not move from his spot on the floor. Stares into space for a couple panels.
Mouth open.
Hell yeah. So he's convinced because our boy Denji is not very bright. So
yeah, I love that we've now established Denji just has very long thought processes, and sometimes we'll get to see how they work, and sometimes we won't.
Sometimes. Meanwhile, Asa's walking home, sad because this poor girl, she can't have any human connection with anyone. But she just starts getting really down on herself because she's like, I just kind of like convince myself that that someone will like me, and then when I'm wrong, my feelings just get hurt. So it really would just be better if I were just alone rather than feel like this. Convince myself that someone wants to be with me and then be proven wrong and get hurt. This poor girl. And Yoru is meanwhile there and just says, you might be right. It's just like, yes, be alone. You won't be hurt that way. So, but she does go on to say, because Asa keeps on browbeating herself, and Yoru says, look, I think you might be being a little bit too down on yourself. And Asa says, look, I'm just tired. I'm tired of my inability to maintain a lasting relationship with another human being. Maybe I'd be better off dead.
No.
And then someone falls next to her. And she looks over, and a guy has fallen on the ground from a balcony next to her of an apartment complex, and his limbs are bending the wrong way. He's probably dead.
He's not doing great. I don't think he's going to pop up from this one, Nick.
No. So Yoru warns her after, I believe, taking over the body, like, something's wrong. Stay back, Asa. She looks up and she sees a whole bunch of people in the apartment complex looking over their balconies at her. And that's the end of the chapter. Some sort of devil has probably showed up and is probably going to be putting Asa and Yoru in danger. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and presumably this might be the devil that Nayuta smelled, and Denji might show up.
Yeah, possibly.
Who knows?
If Denji's going to go out fighting as Chainsaw Man, then maybe he and Asa their paths will be forced to cross, despite Naomi's best efforts. So,
yeah, good stuff. We had to talk about Kaiju number 8, though, which is on chapter 80.
Yep. And in 8 more chapters, it'll be Kaiju number 888.
Oh, we should do like a celebration, like a party, and invite everybody from Kaiju number 8 here.
Okay. I hope that some of them return our invitations.
I'm going to send invitations out now. Kafka. Kikoru? Yeah, that's a character.
Yes.
Reno.
Yes.
I feel bad. I'm going to invite a lot of kaijus just because their names are pretty easy to remember. Kaiju 9, Kaiju number 10. It's a lot of kaijus at this party, Nick.
Lieutenant Hoshina, of course. Gotta have the cool guy there.
He's gonna sass us.
Yeah. And then we'll just address one to Reno's boyfriend and see if that works. If he responds to the invitation, it means it's correct.
Aww. So. That would be beautiful. I love love.
All right, so it's chapter 80. Last time Kikoru was seeing the ghost of her mother fighting in front of her, and decided that she needed to surpass her right here, right now. And she does in this moment as she swings her axe and freaking slices off one of Kaiju number 15's arms as she's forced to block it. And number 15 is just totally shocked by this. Like, what the hell just happened? And Kikoru's unleashed combat power is rising ever further. It's up to 93%, which is right at the same level that her mother was at her peak. Guy who only ever talks about Hikari Shinomiya is like, oh my god, she's surpassed Hikari Shinomiya. And everyone's like, yeah, do it, surpass her in strength. And Kikoru unleashes this ridiculous axe technique, which basically is, a chop and then a follow-through chop, cuts off Kaiju number 15's head as her power potential goes even further past her mother's, and she has exposed the core, and she's like, all right, here we go, I've got to get rid of it. But Kaiju number 15's head tilts and spins through the air and grins maniacally down at her. And Kikoru has just enough of a moment to go, wait, why is she smiling like that? Before she realizes that this tendril has pierced into her back, that is part of this bizarre web that has sprung up everywhere around her and Kaiju number 15, who starts to return to her monstrous form as she says, I'm connected. And Kikoru is cast into a world of darkness. Everyone at command is reacting to everything like, wait, what's going on? There's all these fluctuations in her mental graph. Her radio is inaccessible, and there's this huge neurosync detected. What's going on? And Kikoru is, meanwhile, in this mental landscape surrounded by Kaiju number 15's voice. which is taunting her, saying, "Why do you try so hard? Why do you want to be strong so badly?" And Kikoro starts to argue, "Is because I want to protect the country from people like you." And Kikoro said, and she's told, "You're a liar." So Kikoro says, "It's to protect the lives of those I care about." Liar. Why do you want to protect the lives of those you care about? And Kikoro is like, because, and she can't really understand it. So Kaiju number 15 snaps her fingers and says, "You know yourself, don't you? Little Kikoru, why do you want to be strong so badly?" And when she snaps her fingers, Kikoru was a little girl again. And Kikoru admits, "I wanted to be strong." And she thinks to the times that her parents would give her a pat on the head because I wanted to earn their praise. I wanted them to praise me more. And she starts to cry. And Kaiju number 15 appears out of the void and grips her around the shoulders from behind and says, "You're a good little girl. You don't have to try so hard. So why don't you just give up? After all, try and try as you might, your mommy and daddy are long gone, along with any hope you ever had of earning their praise again." Ew!
Well, Nick, she likes her mom.
Yeah, and her dad.
Yeah, she was being praised. I'm in like kind of a point where I'm struggling with how to feel on this chapter. Because on one hand, like you want the kaijus that are numbered to be like significant threats. And you don't want one that's just like eliminating like 3 chapters when like mostly every other big numbered kaiju had like an entire arc devoted for. Like I know we're kind of like growing in escalation, but like it'd be kind of a letdown if like 15 wasn't strong. But at the same time, I don't know what will surpass Kikoru literally surpassing her mother's ghost. Like that was such a cool moment that I'm just like not excited to read anything else in the same way. I could still be surprised. Like I'm not trying to say like this is a bad plan. It's just as a reader in this moment, I'm like, I feel like we should have saved that moment for a little bit later if this fight was going to keep continuing.
I definitely see where you're coming from. I am reserving judgment on this, but I cannot help but have the gut feeling of should have just had her dash past her mom's ghost and chop Kaiju number 15 in half, and have it be done with that.
Nah.
We do have, for another thing, like 5 more fights to get through after this point. So I don't know. Maybe keeping it kind of short and punchy and satisfying is the way to go. Maybe there'll be a big thing that comes from this that makes us feel even more positive about the fight as a whole. But when you hit that high, it feels like just end at that point. End the match on your biggest spot. Just let it go.
Yeah. This is like hitting the one-winged angel, and then they kick out, and then you pick them up, and you hit them with a clothesline, and then they're down. You're just like, all right, man. I think it was JB in our Discord who brought up something that I did want to mention as well.
Oh.
That it is kind of weird that nobody has commented on the fact that Kaiju number 15 is like an evil clone of Kikoru.
Do they have a visual on the fight at this point?
They might not, but has Kikoru herself even really commented on it?
She's reacted at least once to it, but I don't know if she's actually had time to talk about it while she's been fighting it.
I guess, yeah, maybe it looks something different to everybody, and
maybe
the I can't think of the word, but command doesn't have a visual or something like that. But it does seem weird that this very notable thing about Kaiju number 15 really doesn't seem to be getting a whole lot of spotlight.
True. I get your point, yeah. Or JB's point.
Yeah.
Let's hit on Akane-banashi, chapter 50, Master's Desire.
Yeah.
Akane's performance of fetching tea gets a little write-up in the news afterwards, so it was a hit. It went over well, and we see that Urara and Mayura are reacting to this. And Mayura says, "Are you worried that like Akane is gonna get like singled out again?" Or rather, Urara asked that of Akane because they're hanging out and like having a meal with her. And Akane says, "No, no, no. Actually, that's not how things have been. People have been nice to me since the article came out." And so our journalism friend, he did a bit of work this time. He made sure that she was cast in a good light as a result of this performance. So good job on his part.
Yeah, he's got journalistic integrity.
There's a moment where he has, oh, flash the victory sign, like, haha, I'm doing a good job from the background. I'm like, just like, he's like, oh, I guess that just being invited to perform helped her overcome the controversy. And he's like, oh, no credit for me. Oh, but he's not even real. He's not actually there. He doesn't know they're talking about him. What am I saying? I don't feel bad for you, fake double fictional character. You're a fictional within the narrative of this fictional story. So there, yeah. Anyway, but Urara points out to Akane, it looks like he lost though, because the greatest applause of the day went to Rokuro's performance, even though you learned from me. So she's kind of like starts being hard on her. But it's one of those things of like, look, Akane's got a lot of potential, but she's got a lot of people she needs to surpass if she wants to rise to the top of the Rakugo world, basically. Then she brings up, then Urara brings up that Akane is wanting to learn from Master Hasho, his performance of Hirabayashi. So, Urara's like, why do you want to learn from him so much? And so Akane says, well, believe it or not, Master, I get scolded a lot. And Urara is immediately like, yeah, I'm not surprised in the slightest. Of course you do. You act out a lot. But Akane says, whenever people do kind of like scold me like that, when they're harsh with me and severe with me, I could tell that they did have my best interest at heart. So even more than wanting to learn the story from Master Hasho, I want to prove to him that I'm worthy of him. Because if not, I can't progress as a Rakugoka. Urara says, like, okay, well, you should go on and get to your practice, but Akane stops it there and says, oh, no, I want to ask you something, which is, what do you desire? So Urara says, all right, well, I'll tell you, because we've talked about this before. What I want to do is for my name, Urara Ransaika, to leave a mark on history as a Myoseki. Those are the names of especially renowned Rakugoka, which are then reused within their school for generations afterward. The very first female Shinuchi did not come until the Heisei era barely 30 years ago. There are still no Myoseki that bear the names of female Rakugo performers. So she wants to be the first ever to achieve that goal.
Oh, I like her.
Yeah, she's just like, I want, to be the one that like everyone is looking up to as they are striving to become Rakugoka in the future. I want people to want to fight for the prestige of taking on my name, which is pretty big flex, but it's a pretty big. I mean, that sounds pretty awesome when she puts it that way. That's great. And when she explains that, and she even says like that this would be the perfect like revenge to get back on all those people who said a woman couldn't do Rakugo. But Akane thinks about it and is like, oh man, to leave your name as a Rakugoka in history. And then she imagines it happening to her, and she's like, oh my god, that would be so cool. And immediately Urara looks at her as her face, lights up, and she's like, you were just thinking you wanted to do it too, didn't you? Okay, yeah. But Urara says, well, if you want to do that, then you have to at least be the best of your generation. You need to understand who you need to surpass. And Akane thinks of the conversation that she had with Rokuro, which is that if she wants to be the best in her generation, she has to surpass Kaisei, who has been, like, still just kind of like a lurking presence in the background since like he first showed up. We've seen like one performance of his, really, and that's just kind of been it.
Yeah, we saw him perform in like chapter 4?
Very, very early on. So just kind of setting him up as a very long-term rival, it feels like. So Urara kind of like pushes Akane like, oh, you got to go meet with Master Hasho, so get going. And so she rushes off, and Urara says to herself, so you want to be a Myoseki, but do you realize that could cause a permanent parting of the ways? And the parting that is visualizes between Isho and Shiguma. So it seems like this might be something that happened in their past, which we don't really know a whole lot about beyond just like they had a disagreement over the expulsion in the first chapter. Akane meets up with Hasho, and Hasho, the first thing he says is, okay, look, I just want to impress upon you the importance of what I'm doing, because I'm taking a story that's been refined over dozens, hundreds of hours, and I'm just basically giving it to you. This is how Rakugo has been passed down through the ages. You're going to learn many more stories this way over the course of your life, and I just want you to keep in mind how much effort has gone into refining each story over time, even if you don't see it. And he does kind of apologize, like, look, I'm sorry, I built that up, but I feel like it's important that you know that. But Akane says, no, I actually understand that. Nobody wants their friend treated badly.
Aww.
And of course, Sasha's like, wait, what, friend? And I wasn't present for that conversation.
I like what I can only presume is his wife kind of laughs. She's like, what a funny way of saying things.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they get set, and we cut away from there back to Urara, who is just continuing to be like just casually the coolest woman in the world, because she's, in her time off, she's like, I'm just shooting pool, just so Mayura is talking to her about Akane and stuff, and she says, yeah, I'll keep her around depending on how she develops. And Mayura's got a look on her face, so she says, hey, you know what I always say? I don't care who inherits my name as long as they're good enough. And it's possible to take the Myoseki of a different school if necessary. Which means that even you could take over my name. Hikaru Kuragi. And hey, we haven't seen Hikaru for a while, and here she is, apparently also going to learn something from Urara, but not as like her student or anything, because she is now part of the Arakawa school. She now goes by Hikaru Arakawa, not by her celebrity name, at least when she's performing Rakugo. And she also notes that she's going to be facing off against Akane again very soon.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think Urara and Akane's ambitions are, like, super admirable and cool. I don't think the end of the chapter works incredibly strong for me, just because I feel like Akane is like above these people. Like,
yeah,
I know she's not. There's
that.
a lot of lessons that she's not, or she is in certain ways, but not in other ways. But like, it does feel like her and like the DJ guy are both like second fiddles to her. So I don't quite buy that was like an intimidating thing, other than like, oh, maybe we'll get some like ship teasing or whatever.
I would argue the point a little bit with you. I should say. Given that, like, it feels like now they both built up as kind of like long-term people, which makes sense. Rakugo is not an extremely wide field, so it makes sense that they're going to be growing up in the Rakugo world together. So it's nice to keep tabs on them as rivals, of course. But this chapter did just impress the point of the person that Akane's got to surpass is neither of them. It's someone that is clearly way above their level. So yes, I definitely see your point of like, well, she kind of already beat them before, so shouldn't we like be focusing on the next thing? But this is not a particularly huge chapter. I do really like the way that Urara presents how big an accomplishment it would be to leave a mark on Rakugo history the way that she plans to. And I do totally buy that Akane would just be like, oh, that'd be so cool. I want to do that. But other than that, it's just a nice kind of like progression chapter, checking in on a couple of different things as we keep on moving the plot forward.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Blue Box.
Love is in the air, Nick.
I mean, yeah, it is. It depends on, like if you've got like a strong fan, you blow it out after Valentine's Day. Sometimes it takes a while to, like air out in the building.
Yeah, you want to open the window every so often. Love gets stale eventually. Kind of stinky.
I'm not gonna indicate that I agree with that in any way, just in case Nicole ever listens to this.
You're like, I just found the phrasing funny.
Sometimes. Let me go to say it just in case I get taken out of context. All right, Blue Box, chapter number 89. Yumeka, you. Sometimes sentence fragments don't make for good chapter titles. That's. Chinatsu wakes up bright and early in the morning. And as she wakes up, the first thing she thinks about is what her teammate said to her about how we can't all just put in the same effort that you do, and you're being really presumptive. But her thoughts are interrupted because she hears, a clattering from outside her room, and she immediately just kind of like chuckles because she hears Taiki go, "Ah, crap!" So she gets out of bed and she, gets dressed and heads into the kitchen where Taiki's mom has put together their bentos today. There's, a little bit more of a continuation of the, I slept in, so I didn't make your bentos because I was watching the K-dramas last night. And Taiki remarks like, "Oh, you didn't sleep in this time." And she's like, "You should be thankful that I wake up extra early every morning for you guys." Good point.
Yeah, the mom is having none of his shit.
Yeah, so they're like, "Yeah, we are grateful, thank you." Good, then treat me to cake from the department store today. You fool! You walked into it. Like you can't do that. So they both get set to leave for their early morning workouts, and Chinatsu says to Taiki, "Hey, have you ever felt like like skipping morning practice?" And Taiki privately thinks, like, I probably would actually skip more if it weren't for her. But hey, anything to keep you, motivated. But he says, yeah, sometimes I don't want to, like, get out of bed in the morning. But when that happens, I try to imagine my future self. And when I do, I know I'd regret if I just went back to sleep. I would probably hate myself a little bit if I did. And that's how I was able to get up today, too. So you just got to keep on going. They... Chinatsu's like, you're a good hard worker, Taiki, and they both leave. Taiki thinks to himself as they're going, like, maybe she was thinking of like skipping practice today, which I wouldn't blame her because of all the stuff going on with Yumeka, but she still sticks with it because that's what she does. Yumeka's wrong about Chinatsu Senpai. We're back on this point. You got no effort to understand what's going on. Just like, no, Chinatsu's been wronged, which I understand. He's the boy in love with her. So, but he also thinks to himself like, look, Chinatsu's got a goal she wants to accomplish. It's not like she's having an easy time doing everything, and I really wish that Yumeka had stayed close to her. Which is, yeah, I get that. At the gym later that day, the boys' basketball coach shows up, and he says, yeah, so I've got an extra ticket to the first match of the girls' Winter Cup. And my wife purchased it, but her mom's back went out, so she's staying at home, so I've got an extra ticket. And immediately Taiki's like, I want that ticket! Because they'll get to see Chinatsu play. So the coach's like, don't you have practice? And Taiki's like, it won't be for me. It's for a friend. Ooh. But as he is reaching out for it, Dickbag reaches past him and plucks it out of the coach's hand. And he's like, I'll take it. Because I'm actually going to watch it, so I should take priority. And the coach, I love that he's just like, I don't care. I do not care.
He's like, I'm out. You guys handle it.
Yep, I've got 2 people who want it, which is 1 more than I was hoping for, so I am out of here.
Yeah, someone physically took it out of my hand. I am a responsible adult, and I am leaving. If you guys kill one another, no, I left before it.
Coach, they're building an arena and are strapping on battle armor. Yep, but I gave away the tickets. I do not care.
It's gone. Out of my hands. Can't do anything legally. Can't fire me or arrest me.
I bear no responsibility for 2 children fighting over a ticket that I gave them. So, peace.
Is it even my ticket? What's a ticket? I've never seen a basketball before in my life. You guys feel like you're making things up.
You told us about like your wife, her back when I was like, oh yeah. Well, what are you trying to do? You trying to use my wife's ailments to hurt me? What's wrong with you, kid? Come on.
Yeah. Anything, you're the monster. You should be going to jail. Officers, arrest that child.
You're under arrest for abusing your coach's feelings.
Oh man, not again.
So yeah, like, Taiki's like, what the hell? And Matsuoka's like, hey, I claimed it first and I play basketball. I should have it. So Taiki's just like, I just don't want this guy to just fucking get close to Chinatsu senpai. So Taiki's getting angry at him. Matsuoka says, all right, well, let's decide it by a competition. Let's say whoever can do shuttle runs the longest will win. Taiki's like, well, why that? And he says, well, I mean, like, we're both good at our own sport, so running is fair, I say. So we'll just, run to there and back. And so people are like watching this, and they're, of course, it's guys like watching 2 guys having a testosterone contest. So immediately they're getting a little bit of attention. And they're saying like, oh, he's like in basketball. His endurance is going to be better. He's older. He's clearly got the advantage. They say that he ran 10 kilometers a day when he was in the States. So he challenges Taiki, and Taiki, of course, does not back down. He's immediately like, I'm in.
Yeah.
But we're not done quite yet. We catch up a bit with Chinatsu as she is walking with her team as they're off to do some more practice. So Chinatsu says, I'm going to drop by my house. So she parts ways with the team, and she happens to spot the dental clinic that Taiki had warned her off from going towards after he ran into Yumeka there. So she happens to see and is like, oh, yeah, this is the place that Taiki went to get his freaking cavity fixed. And of course, at that exact moment, Yumeka happens to walk outside because she's going on an errand.
This is the dentistry of convenience. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. So, of course, at first, Chinatsu just like surprised to see her there. But then the guy who, looks at her follows her outside for a second to say like, oh, can you pick this up too? And he refers to her as Goto. And immediately Chinatsu's like, Goto? I thought your last name was Kido. And so Yumeka doesn't miss a beat, just looks at her and says, yeah, when I graduated from junior high, my parents got divorced. And Chinatsu's like, I had no idea. And Yumeka says, well, I mean, it happens. And it wasn't really worth bringing up. But then she catches the look that Chinatsu is giving her, which is very, like, hurt. Big, wide, dark eyes. And she says, you really never tell me anything. Meanwhile, the guys are going to run. Yeah.
Thrilling. No, I mean, it's good. It's, it's very amusing that there's, like, as you mentioned, like, this big testosterone fight going on, and I could not care less about it, but I'm just like, Chinatsu, tell her how you really feel. There's pent up feelings here. Go for it.
Tell her that you're hurt by the fact that she stopped being friends with you. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
I do, love that there is potential that they might hash some stuff out. And meanwhile, Taiki is over here like, I've got to win that ticket and force Yumeka for some reason to go watch the basketball game so that she'll start hanging out with Chinatsu senpai again. Like, it's such a teen boy thing to do.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So yeah, great chapter. I was quite surprised that suddenly Yumeka and Chinatsu are thrown into having what seems like it's gonna have like a big emotional moment, but I'm here for it. So.
Yeah, and the agency is there. It's not just Taiki deciding he needs to be the instigating factor in everything.
Absolutely.
All right, Nick. I think I got about 2 more series in me.
Morgue.
Morgue.
It's Cipher Academy.
It's the morgues.
Hang on. Chapter 12. The speed lines make this title very difficult to read. Chapter 12. Patience is the source of eternal peace. Treat anger as a code. These titles are so wild.
They're great. I love them.
We begin the chapter a bit in media res as Iroha is storming down the hallway of the academy, and a few of the students are like, what the heck is he doing? Why is he looking so angry? And Iroha marches right up to a girl who has black gloves on as she is kind of, I think, arranging her pencil case or something. Yeah, barely bats an eye at him. But we see that Yugata, oh gosh, I forget her friend's name. The short hair girl is like, so
Coco or something like that.
Something like that. So she basically just like, what's going on? Why is Iroha doing a thing? And so Yugata just says like, I mean,
Yukako.
Okay. So she's like, I mean, I have no idea why. Well, maybe it has to do with, and she literally like stares off into the background and a thought bubble appears on her head. And Yukako says, that's what the hell is with that old way of introducing a flashback? But it's very weird because the thought bubble doesn't actually go to the thing that she's thinking about.
It's just like whoop, whoop, whoop. And then you're like, eyes scanned to the next page. You're like, the flashback.
Right. Which featured her presenting Iroha with a puzzle, which is specifically never solved. So, okay, bye.
We'll deal with it. It's going to be dramatically revealed at some point.
According to the note in the margin from Kagoi, no, it won't be. We'll see.
Well, that would be really funny if she was just like, whatever.
Yeah. So apparently, Iroha met up with Yugata a little bit earlier. And he's just like, sorry, but like looking at letters right now still makes me feel a little bit dizzy. And Yugata's like, yeah, sorry. I guess I did kind of go a little bit too far. So I don't want things to be awkward with you as my classmate. So here, as an apology, I will answer one question you have. No strings attached. I don't even mind if it's like about the code that Yukako gave you that like you only like half solved. But Iroha says, okay, well, I've got a question about Toshisai. Why does she talk about butts so much?
The answer we have actively all been wondering.
I've been wondering about this. And he just says, like, I mean, look, I'm not going to say that she can't talk the way that she wants to, because, you know, she's a good person, but I just think that, like, you know, the way that she speaks can sometimes like be kind of like invite tension. So I'm kind of worried about that. And Yugata says it was a punishment game, which I was completely not expecting.
It makes sense though. Like we kept joking. You're like, why does she keep talking about butts all the time? And now we have the answer. She lost the punishment game, so she's got to talk about butts so many times a day.
Yeah. Oh my god. Her vocabulary was stunted at birth. Shocking, unspeakable things that she says. So, she lost a code battle with someone and has been obligated to say something about rear ends 10 times a day since then. And I guess instead of just like getting in front of the mirror and just saying butts, she's like, no, I'm going to work this into my vocabulary. Like, 2 times.
It'd be great if she's like getting to the end of this. She's like, oh my god, 7 times. So she has to like call up a pizzeria and she's like, do you guys have any butts on the menu? That's a real pain in my butt. Anyway, I hate to butt in, but I gotta go. Click. They're just like, hello, did you want a pizza? What's
I don't want to bother you, but and so you got this like, yeah, so she holds up her, you know, her end of that. Remember when she like knelt before you when after losing your code battle? It's like that. She follows the punishment. And Iroha gets really upset about this. And he says, you know, like, who imposed the punishment on her. And Yugata like is very shocked when she looks at him. Clearly, Iroha is already boiling over, and she says, "Oh, it was Iesuno no Hime. She's in our class number 12, born March 14th. She is the sole member of the academy who was a member of the nobility, and so that's what happened. So Iroha has gone to confront her about this." But Nohime has an entourage of people who are trying to intimidate Iroha. But hey, Iroha has made like a couple of friends at this point, especially in the last puzzle. So all the people that he kind of teamed up with beyond Toshusai are there to back him up when they try and intimidate him. So there's a bit of a square off there. And meanwhile, there's a few people who are kind of like observing the proceedings with interest because they're like, ooh, faction warfare. Everyone loves a good war games match.
Yeah.
So, Iroha says, confronts her about that. And Nohime says, like, look, even vulgar neveu riche of base origins like you can understand. I only determined an appropriate catchphrase and presented it to her. As a noble who respects her station in life, it was a natural show of noblesse oblige. And Iroha's like, you were mean to her! so
yeah, I do like how he just comes in. He's just like, why are you such a meanie?
Why are you being? That's not nice. And she's like, oh, so you look down upon me, commoner, and Iroha is just like, code battle, double or nothing. If I win, then you void her punishment. So she says, well, if we're talking about the way people talk, you've got a favorite catchphrase, which is elementary, which, as it turns out, is actually pronounced with Iroha's name in it, so that's why he's kind of drawn to it. But she notes that, like, oh, you say this thing that's got your name in it, as if like it's your way of like putting your stamp on it, like you're proudly stating your name as you go into battle. So if I win this match, your catchphrase will change from elementary to butt end. Butt end.
I love that she just can't, like, everything's butts with her. She's like, lost the match to me. You had to draw 7 butts a day. Your name's Butthead. You smell like butts now. I'll make the rules. These are the rules.
And Iroha's backup Oboro, it just like has to like hide a laugh, like coughing into her sleep. So yeah, okay. So Iroha's like, all right, I get you now. I understand how you work. This is how you trample on human dignity.
It's such an extra thing. She's just making her say butt a couple times a day, but he's definitely like, you monster! I'll kill you!
So he spins a chair around so that he can confront her at her desk, sits down and is like, you're on. This'll be elementary. So Nohime says, then present your question. And Iroha's like, what? So Ensa comes in and explains, like, yeah, you requested the code battle, so it's customary for you to set the question. So here you go. Here's a sheet of paper so you can give her a code. Which, I mean, yeah, like every time that Iroha has had to solve a code or a puzzle that a classmate has given him, it's because they've challenged him to it, and he has accepted it. So I kind of like this in terms of like, the challenger presents it, and so you have to like defend your territory by solving the puzzle. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts to go over the puzzle, and he asks Ensa, like, hey, you had music class today, didn't you? Can I see your notes? We cut away to see that Yokoko is taking Yugata and like leading her down the hall, like, what the fuck did you do? Why did you send Iroha after her? And Yugata's just like, I just, I answered the question. And yeah, so and they're like, this is terrible. Like, Nohime is the present head of the family that founded the academy. She's the one who scouted Kogoe for the class. Win, lose, or tie, Iroha is not going to be just walking away from this. Iroha's in trouble again. So he presents a cipher to Nohime, which is a musical staff, which a bunch of notes on it. I don't know how to read music.
I have no idea how to do it. Yeah, it's all nonsense to me.
And that's it. So I guess we'll see how this goes for you, Roha.
All right. This is a cool chapter.
Like
I thought I like this stuff. Obviously, there's some extracurricular stuff we need to discuss when it comes to Cipher Academy. I'm sure you have to have heard about this news that the current translator for Cipher Academy is leaving after next chapter. Ooh. Chapter 13 is going to be their last. Kumar, and I apologize, I'm going to butcher this. Sivasubramanian? No, screwed that all up. I'm sorry. But they have been doing it since the beginning, and now they are leaving, and did an interview with Kotaku about it. And it sounds as though what they were looking for was more time or money to translate this series, which makes sense. But it's just like we have somebody else. So chapter 13 will be the last one. And then a new translator will be starting for it. And it's a bummer. I think the series has been an absolute monolith to try to translate. Probably the worst series that Jump has done, and it's like crossovers. It's so demanding. And I'm bummed to see somebody lose their job when it really does feel like they should be getting more money or time or something like that to translate a series that has probably double the time it takes to translate any other series.
Even in a chapter like this, which like there's no like super complicated puzzle that gets presented, there's no giant blocks of text, there's still like all the notes from Kagome that have to be translated on top of just the stuff that's actually in the story. That's so much work. Yeah. So I definitely understand why, like, at the very least, a demand to be, given more time to work on it would, be like a reasonable, request. So that's unfortunate.
So I do want to thank Kumar because I enjoy Cipher Academy, and their work is no small part in why we've been able to get it. And I hope they have great luck in the future. And I'm a little disappointed in the hiring process there, but all companies seem to be bastards. The other thing...
to say nothing about all the Crunchyroll stuff that came out in the last couple of days.
Yeah. The other thing is I foolishly mentioned last week when like Aroa had his heart shattered upon losing the code fight. I was like, this is so extra. I can't understand how anyone couldn't love this. And our Discord said, we'll tell you why. And legit, I think like maybe 50% of like everybody in our Discord proceeded to just roundly talk about how much they fucking hate Cipher Academy like in a row. It was vicious. It was like 4 straight hours of just shitting on Cipher Academy. And I legit was like watching it happen, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna message Nick and ask if we could stop talking about it, because I was like getting so defeated.
That did not happen, by the way.
No, I ultimately decided not to, because I was like, everybody also seems to say they enjoy listening to us talk about Cipher Academy, and I don't think anyone would want to. But I was like definitely me getting like very defeated over it and being like, it doesn't even matter. But then I realized that it's you and me, Nick, and Ninja. We're the only ones that love this series.
I will say that yes, like we are going to. I think that people have expressed that they do, even if they hate reading it, enjoy us talking about it.
Yeah.
So which I think is a very high compliment, and I do appreciate it, guys. So
yeah. So there you go. And
if only you guys could appreciate us the same way when we hate the series you love.
Yeah, it was fun that we thought Red Hood sucked, Mulder Man. It was funny. Good times. But anyway, yeah, those are the things that are going on. And then we move into another series. We'll have a giant conversation about it. And this is also, I think the episode's going to have to end after this point. I'm starting to kind of hit my limit here.
I totally understand you, Quinn. So we'll kind of call a bit of a to be continued on this week's chapters with Ginka and Luna, chapter 22.
Oh, right. All right. I can do two more. I forgot about
Two
Ginka
more.
and Luna. I was planning to go through
Oh, of
PPP.
course, we've got to do the big one. We got to do the main event.
Yeah.
So, Ginka and Luna, chapter 22, Nosferatu. The black evil magic mages have been defeated by Luna and guard whose name I still can't remember. He
has like a simple. It's Locke.
Yeah, it is. It is. This series will probably end before I remember his name.
Oh, there's not a chance the series is running that much longer. It
can't.
This chapter like kind of set up towards the end of like, I have a super special evil spell to do, and you're like, oh, the kind that the heroes stop and save the world kind of evil spell.
So yeah, like they say like, look, just kill us. Do you think you're being merciful? Because like we're using dark magic and it eats away at the humanity of the caster. Great power always comes at a cost. And then they look at Luna and say, what did you offer up in exchange? Because of course she uses dark magic. It's what Ginka taught her how to use. Meanwhile, Ginka is running around with the kid. They stumble somehow into a giant playroom with a ton of stuffed animals in it. And Ginka looks around and goes, oh, I know what this is. Meanwhile, Nosferatu has taken the stage in the middle of this festival. And everyone's like, oh, hey, the mage who grows trees and fruit and stuff for us to have. Yay! And he says, thank you for letting me just like interrupt your super important festival for this. Is everyone here happy? Got, good homes, food to eat, fulfilling jobs, friends. But somehow this happiness is incomplete, isn't it? What is this hole within our hearts? And we get a flashback. He was a sociopath. Like he did not have the same like emotional connections as a kid. Like he establishes like, I grew up with a wealthy family. I had anything that anyone could ask for, but it felt like my life was incomplete. One day, my friend's dog died, and he wouldn't stop crying. He was completely heartbroken by it, and what shocked me the most was when he finally kind of came out of it. He talked about his dog, in a way where he indicated like his life had changed. He would talk about those memories with his dog like they were beautiful treasures, and he was always troubled that he would never get to re-experience them. He had overcome his horrible despair, and he had emerged the stronger for it. Yet at the same time, it left me with a terrible sense of unease. So I went home and I killed my own dog.
He's a bad guy, Nick.
But he didn't feel despair, of course. He says, I did not feel anything at all. Only those who know despair are capable of feeling happiness. And there was nothing in this world that could cause me despair. Therefore, I could not feel happiness. Even this fact did not stir my heart. For something to truly cause me despair, it would need to be the absolute pinnacle of terror. We get this very strong implication that he killed his family in an effort to make himself feel bad so that he would then be able to feel happy. Yay, good times.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, in the playroom, Ginka has come across a statue with an altar, and he says, this doofus is trying to resurrect Magaraka. He calls him a doofus.
I do love that phrasing, doofus.
And Ginka says, like, yeah, Magaraka was a real-life magician who lived in the Varokian era. And the kid's like, wait, would it even be possible to resurrect him? And Ginka says, I mean, with enough magical energy, sure. And so he's basically trying to bring about, the empire that launched a massive artificial moon into the sky, a world of dreams where everything was possible. Ooh. And Nosferatu is trying to cause worldwide cataclysm so that he can achieve great happiness. And he gets his flute out and he says, I want to bring happiness to you. But then he has a flashback to when he killed all the people in that village, and turns out farmer guy wanted the best for his son. He actually asked Nosferatu to take his son on as an apprentice, even though he's like kept on being harsh on him and stuff. Oh, he wasn't a complete and utter total bad dad.
Yeah, he was a
Was
little bit
trying
of a
to do
good
something.
guy when you get right down to it.
And of course, the guy was like, "Fuck you!" Killed everyone. So after specifically saying, "Why would I do that, you smelly asshole?" and he killed everyone.
I'm
And he's
starting to
going.
think Nick Nosferatu may not be on the up and up. He might not be a
Oh,
good guy.
this guy who's named after a vampire might not be a great person.
Hey, not all vampires, Nick. Not all of them. There's got to be like one or two cool ones out there. Dio, no. Alucard, no.
Which
Strahd,
Alucard?
no. This is, all right, hold on. Give me a moment. I'm gonna find a good vampire.
It's so many.
Blade
There's
is a
so many.
half vampire. That has to count, right?
There's so many good vampires you could choose from.
No, I can't think of one. Nick, name a good vampire.
I don't know. The other Alucard.
I mean, yes, if we're just gonna name Alucards.
Yeah, but which Alucard? Yeah, the good one. So.
The good one.
So Nosferatu makes a very uncharacteristic face. He actually looks kind of happy in a weird way, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill everyone," but then, oh my god, the bell in the bell tower rings. What's happening? Oh, the kid is ringing it and alerting everyone that they need to run. And Ginka is rushing to stop Nosferatu, saying, "We ain't gonna let you get away with this." And also, Locke and Glüna are racing towards the scene as well. So, seems like the big climactic battle of this arc is about to happen. Yeah, we are. I mean, we are entering the next rotation of series ending. High School Family had its last chapter this week. I don't know what all chapters series are going to end, but it seems like this is one of the ones
we know
that's
what's
on the
ending
short
next
list.
week.
Yes, we don't know all of them though.
Yes.
It's all the time. So
This feels like we're moving very quickly, but I do like the effort being put in. I feel like Nosferatu's story is one I'd actually be engaged with if we had like a little bit more
a
time to
little
get
more
to know
time.
this
Yeah.
character and this arc. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm braced for it. I'm ready for it. I've been waiting for this for like 6 months, so it'll be okay. So
No, I can stop you.
okay, I've got a puzzle for you, Quinn.
I'm not.
I think you can do this one. I think you can do this one.
Sleepy.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
All right. Members of Parental Council Parody part ways with pimping, pornography, and police work?
I mean, it's his right to censor.
It is definitely right to censor.
And I suppose this is specifically referring to Steven Richards because the other three are the ones. Well, I guess Ivory as well. I don't know if she was mentioned in there, but the other three are Godfather. Well, I guess you didn't mention Mr. Ass.
He was never part of Right to Censor.
That's right. They made him change his name because of that. It was Godfather, right. Bull Buchanan, and Val Venus. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about this group, which for those of you not aware, there was a lot of like really raunchy stuff in the late 90s in WWF, including The Godfather, who was a pimp, Val Venus, who was a male porn star, and they were forced to join a group of like Puritan assholes who said that the WWF was super filthy. But among the people who changed their gimmick to join the group and thus getting rid of their very raunchy gimmick was Bull Buchanan, who was the big boss man's cop sidekick, so it didn't really fit with the others.
Oh no, Bobby B.
B squared, no.
My favorite member of John Cena's various cohorts. Yeah,
all right.
That was a good one. Thank you.
Yeah,
I have a wrestler for you to guess if you can get him in a minute.
Let's see if I can.
All right, Nick. 1 minute starting now.
All right. Are they in WWE?
No.
Are they currently active as a wrestler?
No.
Okay. Have they wrestled for WWE?
Yes.
In the past 10 years?
No.
In this millennium?
Yes.
Okay. So they were active in like the 2010s. Did they start wrestling in the Attitude Era?
Yes.
90s. 90s. Okay. Did they win a world title?
Yes.
Ooh. Was it the WWE Championship?
No.
Was it the WCW Championship?
Yes.
Ooh. Did they win any championships besides that one?
Yes.
Okay. Oh. Shit. Okay. Did they win a tag team championship?
Yes.
Okay. Is it Booker T?
It is not Booker T.
Shit.
Okay. That is the timer.
Okay, I got one more, basically.
Yep.
I got one more guess. Is it? Is it Scott Steiner?
Holla if you hear me, Nick. It is Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner.
Oh man, I'm really happy with that one. I didn't even have that was not I didn't have a lot to narrow that down. It's just I just feel like it's Scott Steiner.
You said is he a tag team champion? I was like, yes, in like 4 different companies.
He was, yeah.
I hope that helps.
Oh man, yeah, happy with that one. Great.
Yeah, good job.
Oh man, if you guys don't know who Scott Steiner is, just look up Scott Steiner.
Just look up Steiner Math. I guarantee everyone's heard of Steiner Math at this point. I feel like it'd be impossible for somebody not to have heard of it.
I showed Nicole that honestly within the last couple of weeks, and she was like, "I kind of get what this guy's about."
You're like, I'm kind of enamored with this guy.
I kind of understand him.
I kind of dig his vibe.
I don't know why there's this short version of him standing next to him.
What's wrong with his arms? You're like, a lot.
Everything. All right, let's talk about PPPPP, chapter 69. I can't wait for ending on a chapter 69. Da, because it's about da-da, or da-da-da-da, whatever you want to say.
Da-da-da-da.
So, Dada is talking with his fellow student who was also in the series proper in a part that I haven't read, where she says to Dada that she's not going to be doing piano anymore. He's like, "What? Why?" And she's like, "Yeah, no, I'm going to college. Thanks. It's been fun going to school with you and studying and stuff. Bye." That's just it. It's like, oh, okay. So Dada just says yeah, so I'm an 18-year-old kid. I've always played the piano, and I thought I was meant to be a pianist, but I learned that was just a dream. And the reason that his mindset was changed was because he encountered Gakwan Otogami and experienced his playing and saw the vast difference between them, how he had just been born a genius and he wasn't. So Dada was disheartened. There's a heavy implication that his classmate quit for the same reason, it seems like. So he went out riding his motorcycle like you do in the rain, but as he was going out, he was just kind of thinking about stuff, and he just wanted to get away from everything. But then a huge clap of thunder caused a fucking avalanche to fall on him, but he survived, and by a miracle it made him play piano more good.
He's like Doctor Strange, but with a fucking piano.
So yeah, when he played The Tempest, somehow, according to him, the soft sounds that emanated from the piano, thanks to my injured hands, became a performance you could viscerally experience. Don't do this.
Go to the hospital.
So Dada's only thought was hey, maybe I can beat Gakwan Otogami with this. And so he begged to be included in a small concourse that was, being sponsored by a friend of Gakwan's patron. And so he knew that Otogami was going to participate in it, but he was going to participate. He was going to perform prior to him. And there was nobody in the audience except for Gakwan and 3 people sitting behind him. But Dada started playing, and he was just thinking like, this guy's been born special, and I just wanted him to experience my performance and understand what it means to be a normal, average person, to not be special. And as he played, the audience like filled up with like duplicates of Gakwan all watching him. But at the end of it, Gakwan was laughing happily, and he just went home without playing. So the story became legend. Like, oh, he beat Gakwan Otogami. But that's how he beat him. And Dada says, I didn't understand the meaning behind his smiling face. That's why I gave up on becoming a pianist. So,
damn.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. Like this guy who was so far above me, I thought I could beat him. I performed, and all he did was smile, and I don't understand why he smiled. And because I didn't understand that, I quit. Yeah. So extra. So artsy and extra.
Yeah. Yes, very, very extra, very, very weird. It's hard to talk about this chapter without talking about the news that we got that next week is the last chapter of PPPPP.
Like how can this story conclude next week?
There is always the possibility that there will be another chapter, I shouldn't say digitally exclusive, volume exclusive, that will provide a little bit more context, same way like Build King got it and other series. But yeah, there's like a tremendous amount of just like, I don't know where the satisfying conclusion is. It's not going to get a long chapter. It's not like it's a special series ending. It's just going to get the same like 19 pages, and it somehow gotta put some kind of satisfactory conclusion in there.
Yeah. Is it possible that it's going to be moved, or is it just going to be concluded?
I believe concluded, because the end little thing is like, thank you for all your support, which usually is the phrase you use when you're ending. It's unfortunate. I may not have loved PvP in the most like recent like sort of chunk, but I mean, it's inarguable that this is like one of the more special series in Jump, just in terms of being so kind of abstractly different. And it's a shame to see that it's going to end, but particularly that it's going to end in such a weird place. I have to wonder at what point was it specifically decided that this series was going to end. I remember mentioning something when we got that Mamin and Maloli chapter that I was like, this kind of feels like a conclusion.
Yeah.
But then we got like a chapter that was just about Dawn, and now we're in the Dada flashback, and like I can kind of see like Dada.
There was a little hint that sixth sibling would get a little bit of focus, and then they didn't. They just like kind of like went off somewhere else.
We won't presumably get to see a conclusion with Sora Chica. I don't know what the final chapter is going to be.
I don't know,
but it is a bummer.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. It's and it'll also, of course, be bringing a close to our little mini games.
That's the thing.
Or will it?
We could just do it wherever. No one can stop us.
We could do something else. It's our podcast.
There is literally a manga recap about puzzles, so we could just move it there.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to make people pay attention. You gotta actually solve the puzzle to understand the wrestling puzzle.
Yeah, I buried a treasure out in the world, and if you listen to all of our podcast wrestling clues, you'll be able to figure it out where it is piece by piece. And then you open it. It's just like a box of dog biscuits.
It's like a single half-eaten dog biscuit.
I was like, what? I have something for everybody? No, come on. We're in a rough economy.
Yep. All right, Quentin. We will call a conclusion to things there. Then we will maybe talk about the rest of the chapters some other time. But
I apologize. I intend for us to cover Mashal, Elusive Samurai, Black Clover, and One Piece perhaps next week. And I apologize for this, but
what are you gonna do, dude?
Like, it's much. I'm coming very close to falling asleep.
So So we're gonna let Quinn take a break here. Do you want to like go through your favorites? Do you have any
Yeah.
favorites to name?
Let's do favorites and MVP real quick. It actually works out because I don't think any of the series we were going to talk about really got any nominations for anything. But you could still use yours if you were planning to mention them. However, mine is going to be Akane-banashi for chapter of the week, and then Tella for character of the week.
I pardon me. I'm going to repeat that regarding Akane-banashi. And in a very depressing way, I think my character of the week is Asa, just because like there is no character that I felt hit harder than her. Just like her, just feeling bad about not being able to connect with anyone. It's very sad. So in the worst possible way, Asa, my character of the week.
My character of the week, Asa, please get better. Someone give her a hug.
Please.
The audience, by the way, had a tie between Undead Unluck and Akane-banashi for chapter of the week, and Kikoru from Kaiju number 8 for, Kikoru for character of the week, Akane-banashi and Undead Unluck for chapter of the week. My apologies.
Gotcha. You're good. You're good. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Weekly Manga Recap. Thank you for joining us. We record the show here on twitch.tv/RoloT, starting usually around 7:30 Eastern Time on Wednesday evenings. However, in order to stay updated on when exactly the show goes live, you should follow us on social media and, of course, also join the Discord server, which we will hit up with a notification when the stream goes live.
I should note, by the way, because it was asked in our Discord to make it so that people who are patrons can get like colored names, which I was like, sure, whatever. I integrated Discord with Patreon, and doing so meant if you had your Discord attached, you automatically got invited to the server. I apologize if that was jarring. Like a lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm in the server now." Nobody seems to be actively angry about it, but in case you were curious why you were in
surprising.
Yeah. If in case you're curious, that is why, and I apologize. Feel free to leave if you're like, I don't want to have another server, but I hope you stay because it's a supreme amount of fun.
Yeah, we've got a great community on the Discord server, bi-weekly game nights, discussions of chapters as they come out ahead of the discussion, and discussions over like who looks nice in the chapter and which boys are twinks and which ones aren't. So join us for such wonderful and can't miss conversations like that. We would like to thank everyone who is part of our Patreon, part of our community, as well as those who do a little bit to help out on the kind of production end of things. Milo Jack Stiltz and Winston Del Cheddar create the opening sequence for the video version of the show, which you can see on youtube.com/weekly manga recap. Steve Mann does dial card art for us occasionally. You can check out his work wherever boobs can be drawn on the internet under the name Steve Mann Art is where he posts stuff. We also like to thank Ninja X3i for keeping track of all sorts of fun and helpful tidbits of information regarding the show, which has been going on for a very long time, and sometimes we literally forget about series that we have talked about for recommendations, but fortunately there is a master list that you can refer to if you want to know if we've ever talked about something before. Or if you want to just like leave a suggestion for something we can talk about in the future. We'll need some of those suggestions because we will be doing a big FMA conversation in the near future. So if you want us to talk about something else, hey, leave your voice on it.
Yeah.
And that should be just about everything. The Patreon, which Quinn mentioned earlier, is patreon.com/weekly manga recap if you would like to do something to financially support the show. But as ever, we hope that you just had a good time listening to it.
Yeah, thanks everybody. I will feel better next week. I see a lot of people in chat wishing me well. I should be fine. And we'll talk about Full Metal Alchemist. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I don't want to shortchange everybody this week. So stay tuned for that.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you. And remember, I don't know what I was going to say.
I was like...
Which is why it's so important to remember that.
There was such a dramatic pause that I was like, oh my God, I'm supposed to say something here. And I blinked just as much.